What's up YouTube, Qiuli here, and today I've got a different video for you guys. With my new interest in VGC 2016, I figured why not make a little intro, guide or summary, you can call it whatever you want, of VGC 2016. For those who are new to the scene or those who are OU single players but want to got tired of OU or whatever and want to basically move on and play VGC or at least watch it, because this year's format is pretty fun, to be honest, and I'll go into depth later on why I like it so much. A lot of people call it stale and don't really like it. They say that this year the team building options aren't as great and it's very restricted, but I personally find it to be really fun. So anyway, it's a little intro for you guys. For those who are more familiar with the scene, this video won't be helping you nearly as much, but stick around if you want. I will provide some sample teams at the end and some win conditions, so stick around till the end of the video if you like, just to see that. Anyway, let's move on. So first off, the rules. VGC is played obviously in Pokemon Auras and your 3DS. The battle format is a doubles battle with Pokemon set at level 50. You bring a team of 6, but for each battle you pick 4. So this is a very interesting concept and different from single battles. Time limit. You have 90 seconds for your team preview to choose your 4, 45 seconds per turn, and 15 minutes per game. Now, the Pokemon that you can choose are those allowed exclusively from X and Y and Auras. So basically the blue pentagon is required. Every item is allowed except for Soul Dew, and you can only choose 2 restricted Pokemon per team. And I'll go into further detail to what restricted Pokemon are. Let's just have a quick look at what Pokemon are banned. So these are the Pokemon that you cannot use. So here's the list. The reason these Pokemon are banned is because they are event only in 6th gen. You cannot, if I recall correctly, you cannot catch these in game. So that doesn't mean that you cannot use other event Pokemon, right? So there are event Rayquazas that you can use, but since Rayquaza is obtainable in the game itself, it's allowed. However, these 15 and their various forms, such as Deoxys, any Deoxys form, etc., any Hoopa form, they are banned. So I'm not gonna go too much into these because you cannot use these. Honestly, I'd love to see Hoopa in this format, but that's too bad. Maybe next year. So we finally come to see the restricted Pokemon, and you can only have 2 per team. The biggest threats, well, I'll go into the biggest threats and what I think is good and not as good in the next slide, but basically just take a minute to read. This is every Pokemon that's obtainable in the 6th gen, I believe. I think you can catch me too. Yeah, but the biggest thing is Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre. These are the biggest threats, the hard-hitting threats that are just going to run rampant around, like, in the scene. You're gonna see these everywhere. Why? They just hit that hard. Primal Groudon, base 180 attack. Primal Kyogre, base 180 special attack. You fire off a full powered rain boosted water spout with Primal Kyogre and shit dies. That's just it. They die. What's the great counter for that? To switch in Primal Groudon. Why? Because for those of you who are new and don't really know the weather mechanics, basically Primal Groudon's ability is Desolate Land. Whenever it comes in, it sets up that harsh sunlight and water attacks. Basically they fizzle out. That's what the game description tells you, but they are nullified. Similarly, when Primal Kyogre comes in with its ability that I cannot recall right now, basically fire attacks are cancelled out in the rain. So these are S-rank threats, basically the biggest threats. I think we're gonna see these throughout the whole of VGC 2016 in the top 8. Always. They're just that good. These are the Pokemon that they just hit hard, they can tank hits, and they function well without much team support. Right, Primal Groudon, there's nothing stopping you from just hitting Precipice Blades. Yes, you can have flying types come in, or levitate mons come in, but you can work around that by providing Groudon with gravity support. So you provide Groudon with gravity support, nothing stopping him from just destroying your team with that Precipice Blades, and with gravity it's not missing anymore. Rayquaza, nothing switches into Dragon Ascent. Nothing. There's literally no Pokemon. Well, there are some that can tank 1, but other than that, if your team is a bit weakened, Rayquaza is just going to clean up. This thing has huge speed, 180 base power in both attack and special attack. That's huge. Xerneas, we all know Xerneas. Geomancy with Power Herb, you get +2 in special attack, special defense, speed. That thing's a monster. Because not only does it hit hard at this point, it tanks hits. With that +2 special defense, it's hard. It's very hard to take it down. So these 4 are the strongest, in my opinion. Now I'm gonna move on to the A rank, where I think the A and B rank are kinda, I'm not gonna say it together, but A rank, I think that these 2 Pokemon, we're gonna see them a lot more. So they're not that common right now, but they have a lot of potential. Basically because, well, Giratina its typing plus levitate, it just can tank so much. It's a great check to Groudon, and with its high attack stab, Shadow Force, and its high attack stat, it can take on Kyogre pretty decently. And the fact that it tanks the water stab. Yes, Kyogre can hit it with Ice Beam, but a Shadow Force does well over half. Even if the Kyogre is heavily invested in physical bulk. With Yveltal, basically its ability helps other Sucker Punch users like Mawile, like Kangaskhan, Foul Play users like Liepard. So they hit really hard. We already know how hard Mawile hits. Well, if you boost that Sucker Punch with the equivalent of a Life Orb, it's gonna wreck your team. There's no way around it. Also, the fact that it has access to Snarl, which hinders your special attackers, and if you pair it with the Intimidate of Mawile, you basically have got a pretty good combo there. So for the B rank, these are Pokemon that basically they look good on paper and they are decent, but you need a lot of team support to make them work, which sometimes isn't as worth. But we could see a rise, especially if Kyurem White. I think Kyurem White could move up into the A rank. There are some options I haven't explored, but the thing hits hard. And Ice Stab is something that's not very common. So we see Mewtwo and the Megas, Kyurem White, Lugia, Ho-Oh, and non-primal Kyogre. I forgot to add non-primal Groudon. I don't think that's particularly good, but I've seen it work. Particularly Assault Vest Groudon. I don't really like it, but I've seen it work, so there is some merit for it. And now for our last rank, we have Zekrom, Reshiram, Kyurem Black, regular Kyurem, and Zygarde. So these are Pokemon that I don't see them working well enough. Yes, let's say you paired Primal Groudon with Reshiram. A Sun boosted Blue Flare, that's gonna hurt. But nothing's stopping Kyogre from just coming in and negating that attack. Right. Okay, so you could argue, why not pair it with Zekrom and hit it with that electric stab? It just doesn't work. There are better electric options. Not better, but it's not worth wasting a restricted mod. I don't think these will work ever, the C rank, but we'll see. So let's take a look at some team building options and what a team composition looks like, more or less. So we have a choice, basically choice of the restricted Pokemon. You generally have one primal, if not two. Why do you need one? You don't need one, but it's advisable to have one, and the reason is that Groudon counters Kyogre and Kyogre counters Groudon. Basically, if you let the opposing Primal's weather go unopposed, there's nothing stopping him from firing hits all day long. Now Kyogre tends to like going for the water spout more than Groudon likes going for the eruption. But when Groudon is on the back and you fire a water spout, there's always the threat of Groudon coming in and wasting your turn, leaving the Kyogre exposed to an attack, right? So that's basically why you want one of them, if not two. Also the fact that they just have these, the sheer power, the sheer 180 base stats in attack and special attack, and their rocket high defense and special defense. It just makes sense to bring one, if not two. Now, as for your second restricted Pokemon, you want obviously to pick something that synergizes with your Primal. So, with Kyogre, we've seen a lot of Rayquaza due to the airlock. Basically, when Groudon comes in, let's replay that scenario we just talked about. You have Kyogre in, you launch a water spout. If Rayquaza is in the back, that Groudon cannot come in safely, because you can always switch your other Pokemon that's not Kyogre out for Rayquaza, set up the airlock, and no matter what weather comes in, it's negated, right? So Groudon cannot stop that water spout and it will get one hit KO'd. That's why we see so much Ray Ogre teams, Rayquaza plus Kyogre teams, just to counter Groudon. Groudon is that big of a threat. With Groudon we've seen a lot of Xerneas, basically because if Xerneas gets to that +2, Kyogre isn't doing anything to it. It's just not. Also, they just cover each other's weaknesses so well, right? Xerneas is weak to steel type mons, Groudon just destroys them. Mawile does nothing to Groudon, Ferrothorn does nothing, even Bronzong does nothing. So once you have your two restricted Pokemon to which you want to build your team around, you want to choose your Megas and your supporting Pokemon. For your Mega Evolutions, you typically want one, if not two. If you're using Rayquaza, most of the time you only want Rayquaza. And that's Rayquaza's biggest flaw, that it uses up that Mega Evolution slot. Once you have your Mega Evolutions, then you pick 2, 3, sometimes even 4 supporting Pokemon. Basically you want speed control in the form of Tailwind, in the form of Thunder Wave, maybe Trick Room. You want a Taunter. I recommend at least that you use a Pokemon that learns Taunt. You want Redirection, and maybe you want Status in the form of Dark Void with Smeargle, or Spore with Amoonguss. So this is basically the gist of how a team looks, a team composition. I will provide with, as I said, with some team samples later on. Now let's have a look at the top tier Megas. Top threats: Kangaskhan, Mawile, Salamence and Rayquaza. These are the 4 that you're always going to see. If you build a team, you have to prep for these 4 always. always. Salamence are mobile, they hit hard, they have an amazing ability in Intimidate pre-Mega. Kangaskhan, Parental Bond, hits like a truck, and Fake Out Pressure. Kangaskhan is huge for that Fake Out. And then you have Rayquaza, you already know, 180 attack, Dragon Ascent. Not to mention the fact that you can also add an item, although with Mega. So Life Orb, Dragon Ascent, that just destroys teams. For the tier 2 Megas, or Megas that are highly viable, Gengar. I think Gengar is going to see a lot more play. It's very strong, although Sash Gengar is also really strong, so we might not see Gengar as a Mega, but definitely we'll see it more as regular at least. And then Mewtwo X, Mewtwo Y, I think they have potential. I like their abilities once they Mega Evolve, and the fact that they have this kind of Charizard syndrome in the fact that you don't really know which Mega it's going to be, right? You want to Dark Void that Mewtwo. You don't know if it's gonna be Mewtwo Y. If you knew it was Mewtwo Y, you already know you don't want to fire it off. But since you don't know, it kind of puts you in that position where you have two plays to make, and since the both Megas are so different, the play you want to make for Mewtwo X could be correct, but maybe it's a wrong play for Mewtwo Y. So, and then we see Megas that have potential, but not as much. Lopunny, to me, it's a weaker version of Kangaskhan. Yes, it does have Scrappy once it Mega Evolves, but Kangaskhan can get it before, and I don't know. I just think the fact that it's fighting, it just, to me, the fact that it's fighting in this format is more of a disadvantage, given how much Talonflame we see, how much Salamence we see. I'm pretty sure Hyper Voice, even spread damage, is close to an OHKO on Lopunny. Double Edge sure takes it out, so I don't know. I don't see Lopunny that being that good, but it's true that it hits hard and it has that Fake Out Pressure. And then we've got Swampert, Mega Swampert with Kyogre. You can have that Rain Swift Swim boost at least for one turn. Yeah, and it hits hard. So, and then we see Megas that we had last year. They were dominant last year in Metagross and Gardevoir. I think they can still be good, but not as good. We will see though. We'll see as the year, as we approach Worlds, what the meta is going to give us. But basically, you want to have an eye out for the top threats. And these are what you will typically see for non-restricted Pokemon. I've set them in the categories that of what they do, right? So we have for Tailwind users, most commonly we will see Talonflame and Crobat. We can see Togekiss too. I didn't think of that, but sometimes Salamence carries it. But the big two users are those two. Whimsicott sometimes uses it too, sometimes carries it, though Whimsicott isn't as common. For redirection, we know Amoonguss, Togekiss, Clefable, and Smeargle with Follow Me. Trick Room, we have Crest, Bronzong, Meowstic. Prankster users, these are huge. They're very annoying, and this is why basically these Pokemon are why I think you should always carry Taunt. Thunderous, Light-Bark, Whimsicott, Meowstic. If you let them run rampant, they'll just demolish your team with either Thunder Wave and Speed Control. Light-Bark just anchoring your Pokemon into moves that may not be useful. Basically, when Light-Bark is out, you cannot protect safely because he's gonna anchor you into protect, and you're gonna have to switch. Whimsicott and Meowstic. So Meowstic and Whimsicott are highly support Pokemon that at least Thundurus and Light-Bark carry a couple of attacks, but these two sometimes they like to carry even 4 support moves. If you let them use those 4 at will, you're just gonna lose. So Taunt, very important. We have Trick Room checks. Ferrothorn, Amoonguss, we could add Slowbro. These are the big 2. More Amoonguss in the fact that if you set up Trick Room, he's gonna spore something before you get a chance to even attack, right? So when you see Amoonguss in the back, you have to be very careful in setting up Trick Room. We have Intimidate users. The big one, Landorus Therian, you already know. Huge threat. Regular Salamence. I mean, I just added this with an asterisk. I could add also regular Mobile, but these are the megas that we've already discussed. We have Fake Out Pressure from Weavile, from Raichu, Smeargle also, and then Dark Void, Smeargle. Basically, I should add Smeargle on a separate category because Smeargle can get any. Maybe they're not so obvious for those of you who aren't as experienced, but trust me, if you go and watch a game with this stuff on your minds, you're gonna see plus Airlock or Cloud9. Kyogre likes to run Rayquaza or Golduck. I've seen a lot of Golduck being used now. I've seen some Altaria, though I don't think it's particularly good. It's a big win condition, especially this year. The top tier threats, they hit very hard, and few mons can actually tank Precipice Blades, Full Power War Spouts. So if you manage to set up that Tailwind or set up that Trick Room, you have that 4-turn or 3-turn advantage in which you're always going to be hitting first. So your Water Spout, they're always going to be full powered unless they have a priority. Now, Setup sweepers. Another win condition per se, that doesn't mean they cannot go. These are all always tied together. The only real setup sweeper we see is Geomancy Xerneas, and that's because it's so reliable, right? You pair Xerneas with a redirection mon, and you can allow it, or a fake out mon, and you can allow it to set up basically for free. If you fake out or if you redirect that Iron Head or the Gyro Ball onto you, or you deny it with fake out, all of a sudden next turn you're at +2 all across the board, and it's hard to take that Xerneas down. Redirection, as I said, we have these 4 Pokemon are the most commonly used, and not only can they help set up sweepers, they can also help to set up the speed control, right? As well as fake. That this can be said about fake out too. Basically, you have your trick room user and you have your fake out user. You can fake out whatever threatens that Cresselia, that Bronzong that want to set up the trick room. Let's say you're not carrying Mental Herb on Cresselia and there's a taunt user. You fake out that taunt user, you basically have a free trick room. Or you fake out that threat that can take out Cress, you have a free trick room. And then you can take advantage of that. So this format is extremely fast paced. It's very important to maintain momentum throughout the entire game, which is why speed control is so big and weather is so big. Now, these are some team compositions, examples or samples, however you may call it. These are teams that we've seen in tournaments and we've seen them do well. I'm not sure about the Ray Ogre team, if we've seen it in a tournament, but I'm pretty sure the other 3. Basically, Big Six, it dominated St. Louis. Was it St. Louis? I'm not sure now if it was St. Louis, but I know it dominated regional. We had 6 teams out of the top 8 cut beat this team. Primal Groudon, Xerneas, Mega Mens, Mega Kangaskhan, Talonflame, Smeargle. Ray Ogre team, we have the Rayquaza with Primal Kyogre duo that I've talked about. And then we have 4 support mons. We have Raichu that threatens other Kyogres and has the Lightning Rod ability to help Kyogre. We have Scizor as a Xerneas check. We have Togetic as redirection and Gengar as speed control in the form of Icy Wind. Also, as I think Gengar is the taunter also in this team. So we see that we've got team control, we've got redirection, we've got taunt. We even have fake out pressure from Raichu. We have the weather from Kyogre, so we can see how every aspect of a team is in this Ray Ogre team. Next we have Dual Primal. This is a team that Aaron Zeng used to win Anaheim, I think it was. We see the Dual Primal with a Trick Room Bronzong and Mega Salamence, Mega Mawile and Smeargle in the back. Smeargle just provides with so much pressure. Whenever you see a Smeargle in the opposing team, you always have to take that into account, right? Again, we see Intimidate, we see Speed Control in the form of Bronzong, we see Redirection in the form of Smeargle. Maybe it carries Fake Out. I don't think it does in this type of team. In the Big Six team it does. In this kind of team it carries more the Crafty Shield to prevent Taunt onto Bronzong. And then we see the dual weather, right? Especially dual primal, but so we have Dialga Palkia, Mega Metagross, which we saw that it could be viable. We have Landorus, Thundurus, Talonflame. So again, we have the speed control, we have the taunt in either Thundurus or Talonflame, we have the intimidate. We also have speed control in the form of Trick Room, right? So this is what good Trick Room teams will have. They'll have a form of functioning either in Trick Room or out of Trick Room with either Tailwind or Thunder Wave provided from Thundurus. So this is basically it for this VGC intro or summary. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will provide you guys later on in this channel with some replay analysis of actual tournament games. I've already got some in the works. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Again, as I said, please leave some feedback in the form of a comment or a like, and I'll see you guys next time.